I got a question from one of the guys who's on my self-defense street fighting newsletter. And I'm just going to go ahead and read his email, and then I'm going to give you the answers that I gave him, because I think these are questions that a lot of people have. Okay? Hey Bob, I really like the look of your stuff and the kill or be killed real world approach. Couple of questions if I may. One, how big are you? I'm 5'9", 160, great for looking good in a t-shirt, not so great for striking fear into the hearts of would-be attackers. Two, what approach does your system take to dealing with the size disadvantage? Three, if I go all in on the system, I'd be looking to practice solo. Is this feasible? Would you suggest any equipment to help? I'm thinking of a freestanding dummy punch bag. I appreciate your time, Michael. Okay, Michael. First of all, I call myself 5'9". I'm really 5'8.5". And when I was working as a bouncer, I had a lean weight of like 170. Okay, I wasn't living very healthy, so at times I'd get a little bit fat, but in general, my lean weight was 170 at 5'8.5". And I certainly did not strike fear into anybody's heart either. Okay, so this is the bottom line. I had this concept that I talked about before when I was doing, videos about self-defense, the skinny bouncer. Okay. There were a couple people that I would like network with that taught self-defense, and they were also bouncers, maybe a cop or a soldier, people had real world experience. And I would say, the skinny bouncer is the guy you want to learn from, because I'm not the kind of person that would physically intimidate a person. I remember the first fight I got in was because a guy wouldn't take off his hat. We were in a club, they were having problems with gangs. So before I started working there, it was like nobody's allowed to wear a hat because of gang colors. Okay, so I went over, I'm like, dude, you got to take off your hat, which he knew. And, he refused to take off his hat, and I ended up talking to this other guy. I'm like, dude, what am I going to do? He's like, dude, I'm going to tell you, get some respect right away. So I went over, I'm like, dude, are you going to take off your hat or not? And he just like, was very, very aggressively told me no, and I ended up having to hit him in his windpipe. That was like the first night. It didn't even really start getting crowded. It was kind of empty, the club, and I immediately got in my first fight because the guy wouldn't take off his hat. I'm not intimidating to anybody, After a while, obviously, I got a reputation because people would see me, throw people out, or people would see me get in fights, and they'd be like, no matter what you do, don't get in a fight with that guy. But other than that, I wasn't the kind of person who would intimidate people, just by my appearance alone. Actually, as a matter of fact, I remember one time I was walking over because I saw, some people were getting kind of loud, and a guy walks over, it's like, hey, slow down, big guy's coming. I'm like, who the hell's the big guy? And then I looked behind me, and there's a guy called Karsten. He was a friend of mine. He was like 6 something, and he was like a power lifter, big and also a little bit of a gut, really powerful, intimidating guy behind me. So they're like, big guy's coming, but I never had that advantage. I had to literally fight for everything that I got when I was working as a bouncer. Okay, now what approach does your system take to dealing with the size advantage? Okay, in self-defense street fighting, okay, I cover how to eye gouge, how to bite, how to tear skin, and how to headbutt. Okay, and headbutting is certainly one of the best ways to deal with the size disadvantage. Okay, so look at this. Okay, these are a couple stare downs from MMA, and you'll see that when a person is taller than another person and they, quote, get in your face, like they get really close to you, the smaller person's forehead is right about the same height as the taller person's nose. So it's really easy for the small person to come in with a headbutt and to knock the person out, okay? Also, in this picture, you can see, very clearly that what this is. And the problem is with the person on the top is if he tries to headbutt, he'll probably smash his nose into the other person's forehead. He'll basically face butt the guy's forehead. So there are actually advantages that you have to being shorter. And like I said before, in other videos, the head is basically the same hardness and the same weight as a bowling ball. So by crushing, by hitting somebody in the nose, okay, or another sensitive area of a person's face, you could very easily knock him out no matter what your size, okay? I mean, here's a woman knocking a guy out with a headbutt. A woman knocking a guy, a bouncer, out completely cold with one headbutt. Okay. And of course, like I said, eye gouging, it doesn't take a whole lot of strength to rake your fingernail across, a guy's eye. It doesn't take a whole lot of strength to force your thumb in between an eyeball and the eye socket. There are a whole lot of techniques that you can do as a smaller or weaker person to take somebody out who's bigger. Okay. Okay. Now, can you train alone? Let me go ahead and put it like this. I created this system because I wanted things that you don't have to really like train to learn to do. People say, oh, BJJ is better. You have to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for years before you can get anything down. And I still don't think laying on top of somebody on the ground for 20 minutes trying to get an arm bar, meanwhile his friends are stabbing you in the back or kicking you in the back or hitting you in the back of the head with beer bottles, is a really good idea. But let's say BJJ is a good idea. You still have to take years to learn it, okay? It doesn't take you a long time to learn how to headbutt a person. It doesn't take you a long time, to learn how to kick a person in the knee. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to kick a person in the groin. There are basically a lot of things that, that you can do because, like I said, when I came up with this system, I wanted it to be like if I teach a seminar, okay, on the weekend, and somebody goes on the first day, they go to lunch and they get attacked in the parking lot. I want them to be significantly more capable of defending themselves after just a few hours than before they came to my seminar. If somebody goes on the first day, they go home at night and they get attacked, I want them to be very well prepared to defend themselves. By the next day, by the end of the second day of the seminar, I want this person to be like a threat to anybody who attacks him or her, okay? So like I said, everything that I'm teaching is stuff you really don't have to practice to be able to do, and you don't really have to practice to be able to sustain your ability to do them, okay? Now, there are, more advanced techniques that I do teach, okay? But let's say this, okay, how many different ways are there really to strike a person? Okay, basically you can bring power to the side, okay, and you could bring power forward. That's basically all there is. So let's say I've mastered like the body mechanics to turn into a strike. Now, if I use those same body mechanics to hit somebody on the side of the neck with the inside of my forearm, or to hit somebody, in the eyebrow, the temple, the jaw with my elbow, okay, or to slam, the heel of my hand into like the tip of somebody's jaw, it's all the same movement. If I turn into the movement and I hit somebody like this, like this, like this, it's all the same. Just like if I move my power forward and I crush somebody's nose, if I come up underneath somebody's chin with the palm of my hand, if I hit somebody, in the windpipe with the inside of my hand, or if I drop down and I, bring my elbow straight forward into somebody's solar plexus, kidney, liver, whatever, is there really a big difference? It's just, do I have the ability to turn and create power and to move forward and create power? Those are basically the only two movements, and you don't take a whole lot of training to get those movements down, okay? In terms of using, another thing is when I have my product where I talk about like the mental edge, street fighting's mental edge, and one whole MP3 is basically just an audio where all I talk about is how to practice mentally, okay? So like, let's say a person's standing in front of me, okay, and he's got his hand like this, okay? Just in normal life, you should practice attacking every person that you come into contact with. So if a person's standing like this, you should automatically think to yourself, okay, I can't attack his throat because, he's got his hand right here. If a person's standing like kind of open with his head back, great, I could attack his throat easily. Okay, I could attack his nose easily. I could attack his chin easily because he's standing there and it's open. Okay, if a person's standing with one knee bent and one knee straight, all his weight is on that one knee. Okay, if I try to kick that knee, he's not going to be able to move out of the way because he has to shift his weight to the other knee and then lift it up and move it. Also, if he's putting all of his weight on that one knee, it's not going to go anywhere. He's forcing it into the ground. So when I kick him in the knee, the only part that's going to be able to move is his knee joint itself. I'm going to break his knee. So what I'm basically saying is just by mentally rehearsing, where would you attack this person? Where would you attack that person? Where would you attack that person? It automatically becomes ingrained. So if I do have to fight, I automatically know exactly what to attack to just by mental training, just by mental rehearsal. That's something that I cover a whole lot, is just the mental rehearsal. In terms, like I said, of using equipment, If you are going to use it's called a body opponent bag. Okay, it's basically like, you know, a plastic dummy torso with actual eyes and actual ears and actual, you know, neck. If that's what you're talking about as a dummy punching bag, that's probably the best thing you can use, because you can actually practice going after the eye, you can practice going after the throat, you can practice going after, you know, underneath the ears, and you know, you can hit it full power without hurting yourself. That's probably like the best thing. But like I said, it's not really necessary. What's necessary is you maybe hit, you know, pads, you know, maybe hit like a focus mitt or a tie pad just a few times to you know, build up the power, so you're like, wow, I actually have confidence in my ability to hurt somebody if I elbow him. You know, hold the pads for somebody else. It's like, gee, you know, this guy's really hitting the pads hard. I'm glad, you know, I'm holding a pad and he's not hitting me in my head. So what you do is you build confidence in the technique, you build confidence in your ability to perform the technique, and then, like I said, you can use mental training to basically keep up your ability. Okay, that's what I would do in a seminar. I'd have people hitting pads, and then I'd be like, okay, remember how it felt. What muscles do you tense? What muscles do you relax in your legs to turn in? How does it feel when you pull the power out of, you know, out of the ground with your feet? You know, how does it feel to like turn into the strike? How does it feel to move your body forward? And just practice and practice and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. So you have the movement down from, like I said, from like the mental training. And because of that, you don't really need to have a whole lot of like, you know, I'm going to throw 1,000 jabs a day and 1,000 hooks a day and 1,000 uppercuts, and I'm going to do, you know, this and this. It's like a boxer would or a kickboxer would. If you want to train, you can train, okay? As a matter of fact, there's something I've been tinkering with a while where I call it street karate, okay? It's more of like a martial arts oriented system, okay? It's only techniques that work, okay? It's only practical techniques, but it is more of like a martial arts oriented system that you could actually train every day for the people who want to. But like I said, that's advanced. You know, if all you really want to do is to be able to defend yourself, I suggest you work on your situational awareness, avoid most fights, okay? If you have to have a fight, your situation, the mental training I teach will make sure that your aggression's up, okay, that your killer instincts honed so you can actually fight and win, okay? You could work on your fear so you're not afraid when you actually have to defend yourself. And also, like I said, the simple techniques that I teach, headbutting, eye gouging, things like that, are more than enough to get you through like 90% of the fights that you're going to be in.